General Mike Flynn is a rock star. Here he is on some advice on how we need to save the country by fighting. He's also going to go into the Russia collusion hoax. He's one of the guys that was targeted by the previous administration to persecute Trump.
Are more raids like the one on John Bolton's house coming?
More raids? I don't know. You'd have to ask the Department of Justice. They raided my house, I can tell you that. They did a big raid on my house. They took away everything that wasn't pinned down, and they took away some of that too. No, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They started that. And these were bad people that we had in our government before. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They went into my wife's area. They went into my son's area, my young son. And what they did was a disgrace. But how did it work out? I see. We're in the overall. I guess it didn't work out too well for them, did it? They are bad people. They're sick. They're sick people. And they came in with their guns into Mar-a-Lago, like 98 people. I wasn't there. Fortunately, I wasn't there. But they are very evil, very sick people, that group. And if they would have won the election, this country wouldn't exist as we know it. This country would have been a failed country.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. Shout out to the Quad Club. Those are my people that watch 4 videos a day. I can't thank you enough. I hear you guys in the chat. I read them all day. I answer as many as I can in a day and still work. Thank you for watching. I don't deserve you as an audience. Of course, I always feel like I have to earn your views every day. That's what I'm here to do, here to work hard. 580,000. We're well on our way to 600,000 subs. And that's just to make me happy. Here's Mike Flynn, the general.
So this period of time that we are in, I call it the third arc of U.S. history. And we could lose this country, just like the American Revolution, just like the Civil War. Now, it's a difficult thing to define, right? Victor Davis Hanson calls it a something-ism, right? Communism, Marxism, Islamism, fascism, but this ism. I mean, I'm staring at one of the greatest, not only the greatest mayors, but one of the greatest men that I have ever known, one of the greatest men in the history of our country, sitting right there, and will be written in the history books for the things that he did, not just in New York, but what he did for this country. And we're about to see a radical Islamist become the mayor of New York City. That is a bellwether. New York City, when we say bellwether counties out there in elections, right? We got 20 bellwether counties. If you win these counties, you're going to become the president. Well, a bellwether for this country, for the rest of the world, is New York City. So I'm going to go up there tooth and nail and see what I can do to help. Because I'm looking at it and I'm saying, God, I'm listening to what this guy's saying. But these are indicators. I'm a soldier. I'm an intelligence professional. I'm a general. I've been at war. I've served 5 years of my life in direct combat operations, okay? 5 years away from my family.
He's calling us to the battle of defending Republican candidates against Democrat socialists. Now, this is one of the most important interviews I've ever seen. This is John Solomon, who's one of my favorite journalists. I'm doing journalism here. He was the first to call out and really crack the Russia collusion hoax. This is a haunting interview. I'm going to clip a lot of it, but this is a lot of the history on the Russia climate hoax, how it directly involves Hillary Clinton and her email scandal, and how if we don't stop this, if we don't stop the weaponization of the FBI turned against the American public and the CIA and the Department of Justice, you will no longer have a country. Pure wisdom right here.
The Russians did what they've done in almost every election since the post-Cold War era ended, which is to use the KGB playbook to sow dissension in America, to create division. And by the way, it wasn't limited to just the presidential election. It involves climate change. It involves lots of things.
It involves climate change. So the Russians, this is his defense of Trump, saying that the Russians, they did nothing to help one candidate over another. That was a complete lie that they were helping either candidate. They really didn't care. They were sowing dissent. That's what Russia has always done. But now we're going to get into the Russia thing directly with John Solomon, greatest journalist ever. This guy needs the Pulitzer, and he only ruined his career by telling the truth.
Before we go any further, something just struck me, and there's this tendency to paint, agencies or groups of people and kind of with the same brush. When we talk about the intelligence community, of course, there's all these agencies. Notably, you mentioned the CIA and the FBI, but it's not a monolithic block of people that think all exactly the same way. And indeed, there's, I think efforts happening as we speak at some kind of reform, right? There's been the people that have been lost their clearances. Is it reasonable to just say the FBI, the CIA, whatever, the intel community, it's just as a kind of always pejorative?
Listen, the people are policy, and the people who ran the CIA, the people who ran the FBI, used those institutions to foment a dirty trick on the American people to mislead us. And in doing so, they used some of the most awesome tools that we gave them, particularly after 9/11, to fight security threats, terrorists, counterintelligence, spy threats. And they took those tools and they turned them against the American people.
Now, when you do that, you discredit your entire organization. He's saying, the Epoch Times guy is asking, is it fair to call all of the FBI evil, all of the CIA evil, when it's just a few Democrat actors or even a ton of Democrat actors? It's what the FBI and the CIA can do, what our surveillance can do. It's the most powerful tools of intelligence that we have that are supposed to go after foreign entities, and they screwed it up over the last 4 years going after American citizens. I believe they should dismantle and reform the FBI from the ground up. Same thing with the CIA. That's what Victor Davis Hanson suggests also. It's so corrupt. Now they're trying to go in and fire people and correct it, and they're finding that Democrats are in there dragging their feet. And then you have the unelected judges trying to defend them by keeping Trump from being able to clean these agencies out.
To hamper a president that the American people had chosen to elect in 2016, to violate the civil liberties of many innocent Americans, Mike Flynn, Carter Page, George Papadopoulos, many others that follow from them. While a few were the lead of the perpetrators, there was a wall of silence that enabled this to go on. There were not people coming out of the woodwork at the time saying, I object to this. There are a few. We just learned of one who in 2019, when I file a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, discovers that they've used the Steele dossier for the intelligence assessment, which it was a terrible product. It violated the rules of intelligence to use it to make their conclusions, and they did. He learns about it 3 years. He makes a little stink for a few minutes, but the truth of the matter is there was an institutional silence downstream in many of these cases, which meant hundreds of agents, hundreds of analysts, hundreds of professionals were quiet in the face of this activity.
And that's not what you're paid for, buddy. They knew, hundreds of people in our intelligence community knew that the Steele dossier broke the rules, was not normal protocol, that they were hunting a political opponent, that it was based on fake Steele dossier information, and they went with it. This is about bravery, too. Do you know what it's like to be the only person who blows a whistle, or the only person at a workplace that calls out, say, a safety violation or something? You're the bad guy. You got to understand the culture of what these guys were going through back then. But because of that peer pressure, Americans were spied on, and a political opponent. This is how you lose a country, is you have this secret state, powerful Leviathan monster that lies to you and I who vote. Who do they think they are? I'm sorry, not one FBI agent is more important than you. Not one member of the CIA is more important than you. They get paid more, they get all the clearance. Oh, you're not more important. Okay, you're just one. Everyone only gets one vote, and you don't get to use your office. And they discredited this institution so that nobody in America trusts the FBI anymore. Both sides don't trust them. They're the least trusted brand. Talk about Cracker Barrel destroying their brand name, or Bud Light destroying their brand name. How's the brand name going for the FBI and the CIA these days when they spy on American citizens and spy on American opponents, and still won't blow the whistle? They still only find a handful, maybe 2 whistleblowers out of hundreds of who knew, out of tens and thousands of agents. It's corrupt. It's gone. It's terrible. But wait, I got more incredible stories coming up from John Solomon.
Thank you for tuning in to American
Relations with Russia, 2009.
X was, the expulsion of all intent, in-depth documentary, kind of highly relevant to.
In fall of 2009, 2009. and what has happened ever since.
Description below. And now back to the interview. European leaders, kind of highly relevant to how relations with Russia shaped up subsequent to all this.
Okay, this is about how the Clinton email scandal ruined our diplomatic relations with Russia. This goes all the way back to the 2009, the big red button where Hillary Clinton came out and said, we're doing a reset with Russia. And Russia burned them. And then they pulled our diplomatic people out and brought them back home, kicked theirs out of the United States. This is what led to the war in Ukraine, was the way the Clintons, Obama, and Biden handled Russia, distanced them from us. And part of the distancing was them slandering Russia with trying to help Trump. You see where this is going?
There's a direct line to the fall of 2009 and what has happened ever since then. In the summer and fall of 2009, the Obama, Biden, Clinton foreign policy team decided they were going to reset relations with Russia, and that they could cajole their way into Vladimir Putin's heart. And if we gave him lots of goodies, he would just become a good actor. And
remember, even George Bush, who I rarely criticize, but even George Bush said he looked into Putin's eyes and saw a good man. He was a sucker.
3 or 4 years, both sides got goodies. Vladimir Putin got uranium-1 assets under our soil.
Sold to him by Hillary Clinton.
He got decades of contracts that made American utilities reliant on Russian nuclear fuel. We were so reliant that when Joe Biden wanted to sanction Russia for its second incursion into Ukraine a few years ago, he couldn't sanction Russia's uranium because he would have taken our power plants out. They made all these concessions to Vladimir Putin. And then when Vladimir Putin got everything he wanted, he pulled the rug out from under them and he invaded Crimea the first time in 2014. That led to an enormous moment of embarrassment for three people who thought they knew foreign policy pretty well. And there's a moment in the fall of 2015 where Hillary Clinton, now the assumptive nominee for the Democratic Party, does a poll. It's in my book. And we actually have a copy.
The key.
Interviewed the Clinton people. And that poll was of all the scandals that Hillary Clinton and her husband went through, which of those scandals were most going to be an impediment to the American people in saying, yes, I want Hillary Clinton to be president? And the internal team were convinced it was going to be the email scandal. But the poll came back showing that the real impediment, the number one reason that Americans might not elect Hillary Clinton, is they thought somehow she and her husband were corrupt because they'd taken all this money from Russia through Russian sympathists through their Clinton Foundation. And the poll came back and they were shocked.
They were shocked. That's the key. That's what caused the whole thing, because they knew that the American people, that she could lose over the Clinton Foundation's monetary ties to Russia. Remember, Clinton was getting speaking gigs with Russia for $500,000 a speech. That they looked corrupt and compromised the American people, even more than Hillary destroying her own emails. That's what triggered Hillary to say, we're going to peg Russia, we're going to pin Russia on Trump. We're going to get out ahead of this thing, and then we're going to use the FBI to legitimize it. That's what actually caused the Russia scandal. It really was just about elections and keeping power, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton and Joe Biden. Okay, here's the next stage. This is on the origins of the scandal. You'll find this. Again, telling. It all involves Russia.
Discussion with President Trump earlier this month, and he said something that I think may be the most profound thing of all. I wouldn't have invaded if President Trump was president. And people say, it's just propaganda, but I don't think it is propaganda. History has shown that Donald Trump did engage Putin in 16. He did engage him in 25. And Joe Biden and Barack Obama didn't effectively engage him after they got burned by their reset. I think that 18-year history, 17-year history is the price we paid. The world could have been very different. Lives could have been saved. Money could have been saved. Terror attacks could have been stopped. It is a much more consequential scandal than just a little bit of politics and classic Washington gotcha.
I think we should kind of give an overview of what this whole scandal is, because ultimately, like you and I, we've been covering this for a long time.
Yeah.
But there's a whole lot of people out there, even people who kind of believe that there was a scandal and so forth that just don't understand the dimensions. And it is actually pretty darn complicated.
Might have been part of the goal to make it so complicated, it'd be hard to unravel, right?
Right.
It's
right. So what actually happened here?
So in layman's terms, if we're sitting at a bar talking to someone after the whistle blew at the factory at 4:30 in Kalamazoo, Michigan, Hillary Clinton invented a scandal that she would posit on Donald Trump, that Donald Trump would be made to look like he was a stooge of Vladimir Putin and trying to conspire with Vladimir Putin to steal the 2016 election. And then she would distribute it to the FBI and the media and try to dirty up Donald Trump and win the election and become the natural heir to the Barack Obama era. It didn't quite work. The FBI did open up an investigation after being warned that Hillary Clinton was going to do this dirty trick. That investigation is called Crossfire Hurricane. And to carry out that investigation, they used the most awesome powers of the intelligence community, including these all-intrusive surveillance warrants called FISA warrants, which means they can look at every part of your life and you'll never know it. They can break into your house, they can listen to your phone calls, they can get your email. And they did that to several Trump associates and probably learned a lot about the president himself in the process. In the middle.
Think of all the opposition research they gained using the FBI and the CIA on Trump for their political party, for the Democrat political party. How many millions of dollars do they get by spying on his phones with a complete warrant that doesn't just allow you to spy on his phones without him knowing, but up to 4 steps away of associates? So it could be Melania Trump, her friend, that friend's mother. They can spy all the way down, 4 steps down. That's evil.
Where that president is running to be the successor to oust the Democrats. So the opposition party is being targeted by the ruling party, if we put it into European terms. And in the middle of an election, they're investigating their opponent. That investigation yields no evidence of coordination, collusion. No, Donald Trump isn't a stooge. All the FBI people conclude that, but they don't stop the investigation. They keep turning it and going, and all the way through the beginning of the Trump presidency. They
extended it because the timing on these things is absolutely everything, as we've said before. It's the timing that you look for to really see how a plan is rolling out. There's another one. This is on his own journal. I'll skip his journalism stuff. It goes into his history, but I want to go into the whistleblowers because this is a pretty spooky story. Let me rewind it a little bit here. Get back here.
Out of my cousin, are you Mr. Solomon? Like, I don't know, am I being arrested? What's going on?
Okay, this is a chilling story he tells where 2 spooks came and visited him in the middle of the night.
Last year, Barack Obama, which is very odd. It was odd to the FISA court. That's why they put the data out. They were concerned that this is a trend. I just thought it was a good civil liberties story, so I wrote it. And at that point, I had been repeatedly told that don't waste your time on Russia collusion. It's going nowhere. And by the way, from some of the most senior leaders of the FBI and the Justice Department, the very people who might also have gone out and told us there was something there when there wasn't. But they were telling me it wasn't.
First to write this story up, guys, this is the guy that broke it. And he had a few little strands of information, but all of his contacts at the FBI and the CIA, no one has more contacts than John Solomon. They all said there's nothing there. The Russia collusion hoax, don't go down this path, don't write the article. But he went ahead and wrote it.
Got home about 10:45, 11 o'clock at night. My wife's already in bed. I pull in the driveway and there's a blue sedan sitting in front of my mailbox with its yellow fog lights on. And I pull in the driveway and these 2 GI men get out of their car. It's about 11 o'clock at night. And as I'm getting out of my car, say, are you Mr. Solomon? Like, I don't know, am I being arrested? What's going on? They could throw cuffs on me. Did I break some classified secret I shouldn't today? And they're like, you don't know who we are. We can't tell you who we are, but you're at the tip of a very large iceberg and we hope you drill into it. And I'm like, what in God's name are you guys talking about? Well, that thing you were reporting on television. Yeah, it's a FISA court filing. It is the apex of a very large scandal and you need to drill down in it. And all right, walk me through this, guy. Well, we can't tell you. It's all classified. Okay, that's not very helpful. Can you give me something of more generic description? Yeah. We work in the intelligence community, and our agencies were asked to participate in one of the greatest political dirty tricks in history. And if it isn't stopped, and one day when it is uncovered, we will lose the tools that keep you and I safe at night. We won't be able to find terrorists and we won't find spies because these tools will be taken from us because we abused them in the last couple of years. And like, holy mackerel, what's going on here? And so
2 nameless government spooks show up at 11 o'clock at night in front of his house and say, we can't tell you who we are. There's no way they would have known. They were inside of intelligence. That's how they knew that it was legit. And they told him to keep going and keep digging because he was onto something. And he continued doing his journalism after that. I just think he's a treasure. By the way, he also started the network that originally put Victor Davis Hanson on his own podcast. I've been listening to Victor Davis Hanson since 2014. John Solomon is the one that put him on the podcast. So I just see him as doing incredible good. I don't want to leave it on scary stuff, but I just want to let you guys know, John Solomon, this whole Russiagate thing, the Clinton Foundation, the emails, her servers, even Benghazi, it's going to be the biggest scandal in American history. That's not exaggeration. That's not trying to be dramatic. It's if this stuff is true, and this is actual evidence that he has, not fake evidence where we're going to try and invent it and find some news story that we're hoping to find it someday and nothing's being released. We have actual evidence of America being dismantled from within by our intelligence agencies for political purposes, for the Democrat Party. And if this is allowed to stand without arrests and prosecutions, which I believe they are absolutely coming, like everyone who says no one's going to be arrested, you don't know the facts of how bad this is. You also don't understand that Trump won an election, and the ground game is different this time. He learned something on the weaponization of government when they came after him. Different game, different sport. If you think nothing's going to happen, you're operating on old news. And I'm here to bring you the new news. And I always like ending on a happy note. Here's a touching video I'll leave you on of a grandfather teaching his grandson how to swim. Ah, the universe is healing. I'm Doug in Exile. Shout out to the Quad Club. Subscribe.